Hello Tech Work, it's Natalie from Circuit Recruitment and welcome to another installment of Landing a Job 101. In this series, I will be sharing one tip per video, taking you slowly through the whole process involved with landing yourself a new role. In my previous video, I talked about communication when it comes to explaining technical concepts to people from non-technical backgrounds. So if you want to know more about how to do that, then go to my YouTube channel so that you can view that and many other episodes in this series. Now in today's video, I'm going to be talking about a topic that I hope will inspire people who may feel as though they might be stuck in a little bit of a rut. And that is, how do you know when it's finally time to get back into the market and find a new job? This is obviously a very complicated topic. People start looking for new jobs for a myriad of reasons, but it is really important to try and be able to distinguish what kind of issues might be able to be addressed internally and what kind of reasons really do require you to make a change. It is very important to make sure you are constantly checking in on yourself and reflecting on your motivators while you are in any role. You need to be keeping up with whether your current role has the potential to align with your long-term goals. Now, if you leave your current role for the wrong reasons, you might actually find that the grass seemed greener on the other side, but it turns out that it's not. We saw a lot of what we called boomerang employees during the COVID period. This was a term that was coined for people who moved jobs during that time, thinking it was a really good opportunity to, say, get more money or join an exciting area or a startup, only to realize that the move was not for them. And a lot of people returned to their original roles during that time, hence the term boomerang. They ended up back where they began. Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with being a boomerang employee because all roads lead to Rome. Everything gets you back on track where you're supposed to be in the long run. But you might be able to avoid the whole hullabaloo of leaving and coming back if you are reflective enough to navigate things a little bit differently. So in this video, I'm going to take you through a process that you can embark on to try and help you navigate whether it's truly time for you to make a change or whether you should stick it out and try and generate some change internally in your current role or your current company. So if you find yourself restless about your current company or your current role, it's important to do three main things. Firstly, reflect, then discuss, and then keep a lookout. So going back to the first part, reflect, you need to make sure that you're doing the self-reflection to try and work out what isn't feeling right about your current role, and maybe even come up with some ideas about how you could make yourself feel better in your current role. You can't tell people what's wrong if you don't know yourself. The amount of times I ask people, what's your reason for wanting to move on? And I get some sort of half-baked answer that doesn't really give me any insights into the true motivations of why that person wants to move into a new role. And it's actually quite an unattractive trait in a candidate who is looking around for people who are hiring. So you need to make sure you get yourself really clear on that. So if you struggle to articulate why you aren't doing well in your current role or you're not enjoying yourself, then start to keep a daily journal or a book that you can look back on. Just a few bullet points per day or per week will do just fine. It sounds a little bit negative, but create a list of the problems that you're facing. Write down specific issues that you face every day at work. Then try and categorize those issues. Determine if these issues are related to the work itself, your role, the company's culture, management, or external factors that are weighing in on how you're conducting yourself at work. And this will really help you pinpoint the areas that need to change. And knowledge is power. So the more you know, the better equipped you're going to be to navigate moving into something new. You might even make a list of your goals and aspirations or the things that motivate you, and then try and see how your current job is lining up with what your current aspirations are. And if you see a really big disparity there between the two, then you know that something's not right. And once you have all of that in front of you, you are ready for phase 2. And phase 2 is discuss. Now that you're clear on what you want and what is making you unhappy, it's time to look outwards for help. Begin by sparking conversations about how you're feeling, whether that be with the people you're comfortable with in your personal life, like your friends and family, or if you have a good established baseline with some of the people at work and they're people you trust, you can do that. You may even want to approach some of your managers about some of the struggles you're having, and definitely turn to any mentors you have in your life as well. If you feel that you can, schedule some meetings with your managers and HR people to discuss some of your concerns to see what can be changed internally. Make sure that you're prepared for this, clearly outline some points about the issues that you're facing so that you're able to articulate things properly. And be honest, because if you don't ask, then you don't receive. If you're struggling with that and you're not super comfortable going to people within your current company and you're worried about what they might think, turn to the mentors in your life. Get them to help coach you through the process of approaching different people within the company to get you to where you need to be. Now, when you spark those conversations, you do one of a few things. Firstly, you give time for the situation to settle. But secondly, it also gives time for the people around you in your environment to set in motion some changes that could put you on a really amazing path internally. You might not actually need to leave. You might just need to change teams or set some internal goals that will get you to where you want to be in your career, or change up the project that you're working on, or give you more responsibility, or they might just have to disperse some feedback on how the team is operating so that things can improve. Now look, in an ideal world, you'd be able to stop at step number 2 and everything would turn out to be super, super great. But that's not always the case. Sometimes internal changes can't be made, and you can tell that if you stick around, you're just going to be copying more of the same. And if that's the case, then you probably confirm for yourself that you do need to be looking outwards. So if after all of this, you are still thinking of going out to the market, start that process off by doing some really basic market research. See if the grass is truly greener. You'd hate to move for this amazing pay rise only to find out that you're super in over your head, or the company has really high expectations of you, or they're not doing particularly well. Now, this doesn't always mean applying for jobs. This does, however, mean reaching out to your professional network. Maybe you have some trusted recruiters in your life that you can pick their brains. Take notes of different JDs that you're seeing on Seek and Indeed, and take note of some of the salaries that are being advertised out there, and equip yourself with knowledge so that you can embark on a search confidently. Some bonus tips and tricks to keep in mind as you embark on that 3-step process is to make sure you're constantly weighing up pros and cons. Make sure that if you do choose to leave, you're fully aware of what some of the consequences could be, what some of the challenges that might pop up might be, and that you're ready to face those, just so that you're not left feeling a little bit stunned. And set a timeline for everything. Say, okay, next week I'm going to speak to my manager. And then once you've spoken to your manager, go, okay, I'm going to give them a month to see whether I'm seeing some tangible changes coming up, and we'll check in after that. And make sure you have some parameters in place to monitor the changes that you want to see. Now, a lot of people actually get stuck at step number 2. They might initiate some of those conversations, but then have no way of following up, or kind of lose track of time. And then before they know it, it's been another 6 months and absolutely nothing has changed. And in that 6 months, they probably could have found a new job. So make sure that doesn't happen to you. Set clear timelines and boundaries for yourself and the people who are trying to affect change within the organization for you. Now, of course, sometimes you are just simply tapped on the shoulder with something really interesting. And if that happens, I would always encourage you to entertain all of your options. If you have a recruiter friend that taps you on the shoulder and says they've got something really interesting and you've already got one foot out the door, there's absolutely nothing wrong with you having a conversation. And likewise, if there's a person who's going to refer you into another company and you trust that person a lot, there's absolutely nothing wrong and you've got nothing to lose by having a chat. But refer back to my video on questions that you need to ask after your interview's over, just to ensure that you're the most informed you can possibly be at the end of the day before making your final decision as to whether you want to accept any offers that might pop up during this time. Overall, there's a really common theme in my advice, and that is to remain open to all possibilities, to seek help and advice amongst all of your friends, family, and professional peers. Your support network around you will have very differing ideas and diverse opinions, all for you to take into consideration and make sure that you don't end up with any regrets in the long term. If you ever do find yourself in a situation where you're unhappy, don't stress. It happens to everybody. And most of the time, you're still on the right path. It just might not feel that way. So trust the process, lean on the people around you, and equip yourself with as much knowledge as you can to be able to navigate things as easily as you can. Landing a new role is never easy, but if you seek help from those around you, remain open to emerging pathways and ask the right questions, as well as do the right kind of self-reflection, you can move through your career with purpose rather than letting it all happen to you without much of a say. Now, in my next video, I am going to do a bit of a part 2 to this. I'm going to talk a little bit about some common reasons that people do leave and do a bit of a deeper dive into them and see if some of it can be rectified before you actually make that choice to move on, and give you some tips and tricks on how to navigate something like that. So let me know if you have any interesting thoughts about this particular topic, or even if you're happy to share some of your personal experiences that shaped how you move throughout your career. I want to hear from you in the comments below. You can view this and the rest of my videos in this series on my YouTube channel, linked in the video's description. But thanks so much for watching as usual, and until next time, bye.